will come to order. Without objection, we'll revert to reports of standing committees and divisions. A copy of this order of business is online. If there is no objection, the reports are adopted. Second reading of House files.
Second reading House File number 3192.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 3678.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 4058.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 4221.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 4222.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 4223.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 4502.
Second reading. Report from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration.
Winkler from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration, pursuant to Rules 1.21 and 3.33, designates the following bills to be placed on the calendar for Monday, May 4th, 2020, and establishes a pre-filing requirement for amendments offered to the following bills. House File numbers 3429 and 4415.
Members, in light of COVID-19, only electronic submissions will be accepted for amendments and amendments to amendments. No in-person submissions will be accepted. Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions online. If there's no objection, we will take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail. Announcements. Representative Lippert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I want to take a moment to add my voice to the conversation about faith communities and public health that's been unfolding at the Capitol the last few days. As an ordained minister, this is something I've been thinking a lot about. I've been in conversation with friends and colleagues about it too. It's hard for people of faith not to gather, especially in the midst of holy seasons of Lent and Easter, Passover, and now Ramadan. It's hard for faith leaders too. Shortly after the peacetime emergency began, I was on a call with faith leaders across the state, and one of my Muslim colleagues shared with the group how the decision to cancel Friday prayers was perhaps the most difficult decision he had made during his life. And then he shared with us that the restrictions that we're placing on ourselves right now are a remarkable expression of public love. That in the face of a deadly virus, we are making decisions and changing behavior for the sake of one another, to protect one another, to protect our healthcare system, to save lives. And it's been difficult and painful and also moving. Early in the crisis, the stories that were catching my attention were of churches being at the center of outbreaks. The story of the mega church in South Korea that was at the heart of the outbreak there. At one point, it was responsible for 60% of the cases. South Korea has been remarkable for flattening the curve, and without this church in the midst of it, their numbers would be even more astounding. There was a choir practice in Seattle at the beginning of the outbreak there that sickened 45 people, and 2 people died. And who knows how many cases came out of that event. And of course, there's the church in Louisiana that's been defying stay-at-home orders and busing people in, even when cases were spiking in Louisiana. These stories are in my mind as some of my Republican colleagues are saying it's time for churches and faith communities to open up again. Unlike businesses, church buildings aren't designed for sales, for short interactions, moving people in and out. They're designed for gathering, for people being there a long time, for social interaction. They function like a movie theater with a coffee shop on the back. One pastor said to me, "We can't risk what could be terrible results because we want normalcy in our lives." One clergy friend said to me, "Why tempt congregations to risk gathering when we have such a wide range of ages in our communities, including so many who are elderly?" And the word tempt seems appropriate to me. Because one thing I learned as a pastor is that whenever you open the doors, your most dedicated are coming, even when it's most risky. In the blizzard, when it's 30 below, when the parking lot is covered with ice, and they walk in the door and you catch your breath because you can't believe they took that risk, and now just gathering is a risk for our most elderly and most vulnerable. And who knows who will take the virus out into the community after a gathering like that and share with those who are immunocompromised. Another pastor said to me, "I'd hate to have churches open now. It's wrought with landmines, and as of now, it's not a good move." I grew up in a town of 700 people, 20 miles from the Smithfield plant in Sioux Falls that's closed down. My wife grew up in Columbus Junction, Iowa, a town of a few thousand, home to another packing plant that shut down. The virus is swirling in that community. We have family there. We're nervous about them, worried about their health. And people aren't social distancing like they should. And I worry about rural communities everywhere that trend older, where more people have underlying health conditions, where they're further away from hospitals. And faith communities are social hubs in those communities. And they can fuel the fire of this virus. As a pastor, I've sat with people who have experienced tragedy. We feel invincible until we're not. We don't think the virus will impact us until it does. I've been impressed with the ways that faith communities are reinventing themselves right now, calling all their members to make sure they're okay, putting worship online, doing spiritual nurture online, reaching people in their homes, mobilizing their members for the sake of real needs in the community. In my tradition, we would say that churches are heeding the great commandment to love God and love neighbor by what they're doing and by what they're not. One of my colleagues is saying to her congregation, the church building is closed, but the church is very much open. There will be a day when people of
Madam
faith will
Speaker.
gather again under one roof, and that will be a great day, but we aren't there yet. Until then, the people of faith that I know are living out their
Madam
calling.
Speaker, point of
Representative
order.
Hold on, Representative Davids.
What order of business is this House under?
We're under announcements.
Well, then let's go to announcements. This is not an announcement. This is abusing the House rules, Madam Speaker.
Representative Lippert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll wrap it up. Until then, people of faith I know are living out their calling by caring for their neighbors and loving one another, and they'll keep doing that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Announcements. Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 1:30 p.m., Monday, May 4th, 2020.
Representative Winkler moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 1:30 p.m., Monday, May 4th, 2020. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Winkler moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The House stands adjourned until 1:30 p.m. Monday, May 4th, 2020.